high-quality, innovative research that will translate to improving the health indices of the country and beyond. Second is to use this medium to appeal to the government at all levels, development partners, national and international, to expand their frontiers of support for health research, especially through advocacy and dedicated funding. Also, without any fear of equivocation, that research is not cheap, but remains a cornerstone of every development. In other words, every development is directly proportional to the amount of research. Improved funding for health research has a ripple effect in positively translating into economic advancement and the nation's growth. I am optimistic that the government and partners will provide sustainable investments and resources to advance research innovations in Africa, national, regional levels, that will produce transformational solutions for health and development. Distinguished participants, scholars, and eminent guests, I urge you to explore the opportunities at this conference to enrich your wealth of knowledge and experience with a view to proper workable solutions to our health challenges, particularly in Africa, generally at the global level. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while wishing you robust and fruitful deliberations, I thank you for your kind attention.
Let us appreciate welcome from the chairman. Thank you for yourself. Thank you. So we've received the opening part of the chairman Google message. We also want to invite other Google messages at this point in time with the development. Would like the representative of APIN available to come and deliver the Google message. APIN, AIDS Prevention Initiative Nigeria. Okay. The Google message from Ichair. Any representative? Ichair. Ichair. Thank you, Mr. Kalado.
Good morning, everybody, and everyone on the high table. Very good morning. From JICA, this is our, I guess, our first hurrah with NIMR on the larger scale. So it's quite exciting. It's quite interesting to see what NIMR is doing in the Nigerian space in terms of research. So we've been working with the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, in terms of strengthening their capacity to respond and detect public health emergencies, and also in terms of construction of BSL-3 laboratories, both in Abuja and Lagos. But recently, we started to understand that for us to fully support Nigeria as a whole, we need to fully support the research part of it in terms of building that capacity, which is why we started to interact more with NIMR, supporting in terms of capacity building. So NIMR has successfully dispatched the first PhD scholar to Nagasaki University. And they have benefited from a lot of short-term courses in terms of laboratory strengthening. So in TB, the AMR, can't remember the other ones, but a few of them have benefited, and I think I saw one or two here so far today. So I really appreciate what NIMR is doing, and we really appreciate them. We're looking forward to working more and more with NIMR. And this conference definitely is a landing spot for us to actually see how we can better support. So it's quite interesting to see that 67 scholars have been supported to come in today, and seeing that needed a lot of the abstract topics. It's quite exciting to know that a lot of research is happening in Nigeria, and that's definitely one of the things that Japan is very heavily invested in: capacity building, capacity development. So it's really good to see that this is it's happening and it's being supported. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you for inviting JICA to take part in this and supporting as much as we can. So we do look forward to further collaborations in the future, and we do look forward to strengthening the research capacity of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you so much to Japan International Cooperative Agency for your work on Google message. I also want to invite eHealth Africa, representative of eHealth Africa. If you're not here, Peter J. Limited. Peter and J. Limited. Okay. We move on to Public Health Information Surveillance Solutions and Systems. They have a representative here. You can come for your presentation. So while we're waiting to see if they come up, I want to also recognize the presence in our midst of Professor Uwe S. Egane of the University of Uyo, the servant of honor. And then also want to recognize Professor Olushola Lanuka for the lead city. Lanuka from lead city university, the Dean Faculty of Natural Applied Science. Okay, so we have a Google message here from also Public Health Information Surveillance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nimr. I'm the Director of Health Informatics for, we call it 5P, Public Health Information System and Surveillance. 5P is a project implemented by what's a standalone project funded through the PEPFAR program. PEPFAR, the President Emergency Plan for Insulin. We act as technical partner to PEPFAR, who also support government of Nigeria. We basically handle data-related and information system-related projects. We're currently supporting CDC, also supporting EOD. We support USAID and basically the Federal Ministry of Health and also National Aids Control Agency. We basically support information systems across the country and also support information technology related health and health related projects for institutions and organizations in Nigeria. So on behalf of the project director of basically Dr. Onudare, and also the project director Olamasi, on behalf of the staff of VICE3, we're going to say thank you, and we're also happy to be here, and we're also glad that we get to be here. So thank you very much.
If we continue with the global messages, we have also on the list the high-tech detection systems. The representative. The high-tech detection systems. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Ichair. I represent HTBS, High Tech Detection System. It's a company that is based in France, and we are partnered. I'm a staff then anyway, but we have partners here in Nigeria at Ichair. We are into lab laboratory items. We are all into life sciences, equipments, its chemicals, and instruments. We are also involved analytical products too. So these are the major areas that come in Nigeria. We also provide after-sales services to the instrument. After installation and after arrange preventive maintenance with us, then we can always continue with the after-sales services. We have been partnering with Nimr for more than since 2018, yes. We have the sequencer and some other instrument like Ichair, molecular lab, and I think we are regular attendants to this Ichair conference. Thank you very much.
Other messages I would like the representative to think about in the area. Okay, we'll also recognize the presence of Professor Oshutoki, and I don't lecturer. Please stand up for them. Now we're going for that messages about the program.
Before we go to the meeting, we will also like to recognize the presence of sometimes it's one of them. Cheers. So at this time, I'll be calling on our keynote speaker, Professor Dalazandro, Professor of Technology, and Media Director at the London School of Hygiene and Public Medicine in Gambia, who will be talking to us on malaria, past and current challenges. So, Professor Dalazandro graduated in medicine and surgery at the University of Pisa, Italy, and then obtained his MSc and PhD at the London School of Medicine in UK in 1990 and 1996, respectively. He worked as a clinician in Benin and Kenya, and in 1990 he joined the MRC in the Gambia as clinical epidemiologist and carried out the evaluation of the Gambian National Program of Insecticide-Treated Pellets that showed intervention decreased mortality among children by 25%. In 1996, he joined the Institute of Tropical Medicine in Antwerp, Belgium, where he developed a research program around 3 themes: anti-malaria treatments, including drug resistance, malaria prevention and the P5 vaccine cycle, implemented in several malaria endemic countries like Uganda, Burkina Faso, Benin, Vietnam, Peru, and other countries. In 2011, he joined the Medical Research Council in the Gambia as the leader of the disease control and elimination team. In January 2014, he was appointed director of the unit and professor of epidemiology at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. His research program on malaria is built around questions related to malaria elimination and eradication.
Thank you very much for your kind presentation. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Salago for the immense honor to have asked me to give this keynote address. Thanks to the chair also. I would like also to thank all the staff of Nimr. They have been very kind to us, really, particularly Dr. Musa and our staff, because they have taken very much care of us. I was really honored to be asked to make this presentation, and then I asked Mr. Alago, what you'd like me to present? And he said, well, this is a conference about antimicrobial resistance, so what about anti-malaria training system. So I said, okay, fine. So I will give a sort of overview about the malaria situation, past challenges, current challenges, and then I end up with a section on anti-malaria resistance, and then some of the work we are doing in the Gambia, about this. Over there. All right, yes, great. So I just wanted to really give the audience an idea about how malaria really shaped the history of humankind. And this is a slide where you can see in color the before the control, before humankind did any kind of control intervention, where malaria was present. Of course, it was present in Africa, but also in Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America, North America, but even also in UK. You could have epidemics of malaria in UK, for example. My country, Italy, actually was declared malaria-free only in 1970, only 50 years ago. Oh. All right. So, and this really shaped the history. The Romans, my ancestors, they knew about malaria, the lot of malaria in Rome. And in the 16th century, for example, the example is an example of Pope Urban VII. He was elected Pope on the 15th of September, 1590, and died of malaria on the 27th of September, 1590. So this is the shortest papal reign in history, only 12 days. And all the people who elected the cardinals, who elected the popes, some of them died as well during, the conclave. So what they were doing to fight against malaria, one of the things it was taking blood. So you can imagine a patient, malaria patient, anemic patient, who actually gets his or her blood out, obviously didn't really help. And the other remedy that you have here, they had to write abracadabra on a triangular piece of paper. And here you see this in Latin, insertibus charte quo dictu abracadabra. So you write that on a triangular piece of paper and you hang it on your neck. And that was also to treat malaria. So we are coming from far. But what happened is that the discovery of quinine, and this from actually the colonization, I have to say, the colonization of South America, Latin America, and the observation by some missionaries that local people used to treat malaria with the bark of a tree. And this is a fantastic book, Miraculous Fever Tree, that really tells the history of how this, quinine was discovered, and how, the tree also was really planted somewhere else outside the room. It's an adventure, really. So for those who are interested, I suggest you go and read this. There's not much time to tell you the story. The other thing is about the major discovery is the DDT. So it was discovered in 1939 by Nimr, and so they were the first indoor spraying with DDT in Italy, Venezuela, Guyana. And then this prompted the WHO to adopt the principle of malaria eradication because it was thought that DDT would actually get rid of malaria. I think that this is how it happened. So the concept was really to say, we spray DDT on the walls, we get rid of the vector for a while. During this time, the people with malaria infection but not sick, so the asymptomatic carriers, would eliminate their infection. And so when we stop spraying and the vets would come back, they wouldn't be infected by the parasite because there wouldn't be any kind of any human infected with malaria, so they could not transmit the parasite to the vector. Well, it didn't work like that. Actually, the eradication started in 1955, the program started in 55, and in 1967 was suspended. Actually, one of my friends and colleagues, Marcus, must say that one of the few things that the eradication program achieved was the eradication of malariologists. So, but in any case, the malaria control activities were integrated to the primary healthcare system. But the issue with the malaria eradication program was that they wanted to eradicate malaria with one single action. While the malaria parasite is extremely complex, you know the cycle here is very complex, the parasite is very complex, and you have something like 41 dominant vector species, each of them with its own behavior. And so it's really difficult to eradicate malaria with a single intervention. And Hackett in already 1937 said everything around malaria is so molded by local condition that it becomes a thousand epidemiological puzzle. In other words, when somebody in Vietnam talks about malaria, it's something that is very, very different from the malaria you know here in Nigeria. So this requires local solution. So, but then this happened, I think, in 2007. Suddenly, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates themselves, before we are talking about only control, so controlling, limiting the number of deaths and number of cases. They came out and said, we need to eradicate malaria. We need to go for a malaria-free world. And this created quite a lot of, discussion about it. Did they really say eradication? And in some papers, they were talking about the E word as it was not the good word. But eventually, not very quickly, the WHO took out this, just to say that for eradication, we mean that there was no transmission at all worldwide. So you don't need to intervention measure to continue to maintain eradication, because they have been eradicated totally. Elimination is different. It's eliminating interrupted transmission in a given geographical area. So you need to still continue measure to prevent the reestablishment of transmission. So the WHO quickly adopted this idea of malaria-free world, and to the point that they say, well, the malaria eradication, the global eradication program was not stopped. It was not closed. It was simply suspended. And so there's been this global technical strategy that came out in 2016 that is based on three pillars: ensure universal access, accelerate effort toward elimination, and transform malaria surveillance into an intervention based on research and based on strengthening the environment. This means strengthening the health system. And these are the goals and milestones and targets that were set up in 2016. And these are reducing malaria mortality globally compared to 2015, reducing malaria morbidity or malaria cases globally compared to 2015, and then eliminate malaria from a certain number of countries and prevent reestablishment. Now, if you look at the milestone in 2020, reduce malaria cases and malaria deaths at least 40%, we haven't met that. And we probably will not be able to meet the goals, the milestones set up for 2025. While we have, there have been quite an increasing number of countries that have been declared malaria-free. Indeed, we are off track. If you look at the evolution of malaria cases, there's been a decrease since 2010, but then there's been a sort of leveling, a stalling. And so the green line indicates where we should be in order to meet the milestones. And the blue line where we are, and then this dotted line is where we are going to be if things are going to continue like they are now. A similar case we have for the malaria case incidence of tracked by 48%, almost 50%. Again, you have this line that we should follow, but we can't follow with the current tools that we have. Okay, so, and the other point is that, and this has already been said in a session before, there are 10 countries in Africa and 1 country in Asia, India, and 10 countries in Africa that actually have something like 70%, 80% of all deaths and all cases globally. Unfortunately, Nigeria is one of them, together with the DRC and with Tanzania. So nearly 50% of deaths occur in 3 countries, Nigeria, DRC, and Tanzania. And for this, WHO has set up a program that is called High Burden, High Impact, trying to really reverse this trend. So what are the challenges? The first one is the challenge is a changing urbanization. And Professor Salako mentioned Anopheles stephensi, the individual Anopheles stephensi, which is a species that thrive in urban environments. And so if we have Anopheles stephensi invading African cities, we may have, it's not sure, but we may have huge epidemics in a population that is largely non-immune. We have the challenge of pandemics like COVID. We have the challenge of resources. We don't have enough resources, but also the challenge of climate change. So climate change may affect the malaria transmission either in a good way, so decreasing transmission, or increasing transmission. The other thing is the barriers to seeking care. So 33% of the children in Sub-Saharan Africa do not access care. Among these, 69% use public health facility, 28% private sector, and 1% in. But the problem is that only 33% do have access to care in general. Lactose to body effect. This is an example in intermittent preventive treatment during pregnancy in a sub-Saharan African country. You have something like 57% of women go to the antenatal clinic at least 4 times more, 19% less than 4 times, and 24% no visit. But only 17% receive the intermittent preventive treatment. So, so there is something there that needs to be changed. Other challenge, decrease the effectiveness of intervention. For example, the badness, there is insufficient access. Their nets are not always used. There is a short durability of the nets, and then also insecticide resistance, and also changing vector behavior. If the vector change behavior bites you outside instead of inside, then the nets are not useful. The challenge of funding gap, this is an estimation by WHO. So basically, the funding gap is about more than 3.6. I can't see very well. 3.6, yeah, 3.6 million US dollars in 2021. And then the challenge of biological threats, the challenge of insecticide resistance, the challenge of invasive vector species, the challenge of the, I think it was mentioned in some in previous section, challenge of parasites that are not visible with our current test, the rapid diagnostic test, because they have lost the HPR2, they don't produce the histidine-rich protein 2 anymore, and then the challenge of antimalarial resistance. So what is drug resistance? Has been defined as the ability of the parasite strain to multiply or survive In the present, concentrations of a drug that normally destroy parasites, the same species are prevented. And here, once the resistance emerge, you have a delayed response, so that means that the clearance of parasitemia is delayed. Then you have recrudescence infection. Usually, and we have seen this in the chloroquine and parasite that are chloroquine resistant, also SP resistant. The resistant parasite produce more gametocytes. And so if you have an increased gametocyte carrier, you have an increased transmission, you have a larger reservoir, you have more clinical cases, more drug is used, which exert a pressure, selective pressure on it. And then you drive further resistance. So it's a sort of vicious circle once in this installed. And then now nowadays there is resistance to all classes of drugs. And so it's good to look at the history of antimalarial drug resistance, because chloroquine resistance started at the same time in Southeast Asia and Latin America, same for SP, and then it just migrated from Southeast Asia to Africa, first on the eastern coast, and then reached both the other side of the Atlantic coast, and also reached West Africa. But in most cases, in Cambodia or in Southeast Asia, there's been emergence of chloroquine resistant, sulfadoxine-metamine resistant, methylpine resistant, here you have the years, and then eventually resistant to artemisinin. So, luckily, we have been able to study this phenomenon, but just by looking also at molecular markers of resistance. This resistance is determined by a change in the parasite genome, and we are able to identify key changes, key mutation in parasite genome that really confer resistance to the parasite. And here you have different drugs with the different markers, and here you look at the artemisinin. So the artemisinin is due to the different mutation in the Kelch gene in the chromosome 13 of the parasite. And so it has emerged in Asia, in Southeast Asia, and here is the frequency of the mutation, Kelch 13 mutation in Southeast Asia. The darkest color means 100% of the parasite have got the mutated gene. But also it is supported, it is supported by other mutation in the genome of the parasite that so help the parasite deal with the mutation, with the change. So allow the viability of the parasite. So basically, there is a selection, a Kelch 13 gene, and then there is a genetic backbone in the parasites for the emergence of drug resistance. And these variants that you find in Southeast Asia are largely absent in Africa. So, and it's different compared to the chloroquine story. The chloroquine story can be seen as a protein resistance story, can be seen as sort of epidemic, expansion of the parasite that are chloroquine resistance, and then they are being transmitted, expanded to other geographical parts, countries. But here you have, for example, the first time that artemisinin has been detected in Africa is in Rwanda by Ali Wigumana, I know. And so it's a de novo emergence of resistance. And the mutation in the Kelch 13 is different from the mutation you find in Southeast Asia. So here is the data, so it's the ring stage survival assay. So you have here WT is the wild type, and here you have the different parasite with different mutation. You can see that basically the parasite with this mutation survive the exposure to artemisinin, which means that they are resistant. And if you look at the different parasite here, So we have these parasites that are related to resistance in Latin America, this one in Southeast Asia, and this one is the resistant parasite that are found in African country. And this part is basically the one that is related to the parasite found in Rwanda. So there is a lot of expansion of the mutants. The same has been observed in Uganda, but the mutations are different. So parasites are resistant, there is a mutation that catches 13 gene, but it is an independent merger mutation in high transmission risk. And you have, I think it's very small, but basically in northern Uganda, you have an expansion of this parasite, different strains that carry the different mutation in the catch. So it's a lot of heterogeneity. And then we have expansion also in the Horn of Africa. Here you have in Eritrea, you have a different mutation. I think it's 622 mutation with this parasite, this part that represents the mutation you can find in Eritrea. So the issue here is the independent emergence of resistant parasite with different genetic mutations that confer artemisinin resistance. So in summary, really, you have a heterogeneous malaria population. For example, these are the prevalence of foreign market in West Africa. You can see that the prevalence of foreign markets are different according to the different countries. And on that kind of heterogeneous population parasite, you may have the emergence of resistant parasite for artemisinin. And that resistance can be given by different mutation into the Cas13 gene. But in summary, you have the resistance to artemisinin, you have 14.2% in Eritrea, 8.8% in Uganda, and 15.3% in Rwanda, which is very, very important. So basically, you have here a sort of summary. So you have this K13 mutation with 622 detected in several countries, in the Horn of Africa, including Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Somalia. And in Eritrea, there is an evident delayed parasite clearance in the area like prevalence of this mutation. In Rwanda and Tanzania, you have the other mutation, which is 561. So high prevalence study with delayed clearance in Rwanda. And then in Uganda, you have other mutation, and this is a 469 mutation that appear to be spreading. So it's a very, very heterogeneous picture that we get. And what about the Gambia? We don't have so far anti-malaria artemisinin resistant in Uganda, but we have worries. These are, by the way, these are the slides that I asked my colleague and friend Alfred to give to me. I borrowed to him. So we have been doing, Alfred actually, has been doing quite a lot of studies on in vitro studies in the Gambia and in other countries. And here you see that over the years, we have an increasing, this is the IC50, so in vitro tolerance. We have increasing tolerance of the parasite to methane. And in terms of ring stage survival estimate. So here you have the lumefantrine with exposure 24 hours, 42 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. And here you have the artemisinin. So these parasites that you have are parasites that have survived exposure to artemisinin. Although we don't see clinical resistance. So we've done studies, therapeutic efficacy studies that show that for the time being, the patients are able to clear the parasite when treated with artemisinin. Okay, and then yes, you can look at also at the genome just by comparing parasite collected 10 years ago with the current parasite, and to see where is the pressure, the drug pressure, and where the mutation, the difference of the genome from parasite of 10 years before and current parasite. And you have obviously the HF5, which is the SP resistant, the CRT is for resistant, but you have also the emergence of another marker, which is PFA81. So there is something going on. The parasite is very flexible, it's very plastic, and the parasite responds to the pressure of the drug, the pressure of the intervention, and adapts itself to those interventions. So what is the strategy to respond to antibiotic resistance? You have 4 strategies: strengthen surveillance monoclonal drug. This is from the WHO document. Optimize the better regulate the use of diagnostic therapeutics to limit drug pressure. React to resistance by limiting the spread of monoclonal drug resistance. And then stimulate research for new drugs, for example. And each of these, I mean, we're not going to go through this, but basically each of these chapters, if you want, have got different actions. What I would like to mention here is the fact that artemisinin resistance emerged in the Greater Mekong subregion, GMS, and this was so worrying that this country decided to go for elimination. And so it was decided that to eliminate PFAS silver because this appeared technically operational and feasible. And here is the result. Here you have the number of deaths between 2013 and now, which has really dropped significantly to very few deaths per year. And also the number of cases. And you have to look at the default syndrome here, because then sometimes it's replaced by antivirals. Default syndrome, you have very, very few cases now. So, in a way, it's a good story in the sense that probably it's going to end well because probably they're going to be able to interrupt transmission, and so we have been able to deal with the problem of artemisinin resistance. So the problem is what we do in African countries where the artemisinin resistance has emerged, and I think that countries should put as much effort as possible to really try to reduce, at least reduce, not stop transmission. I mean, talking about vector control intervention, strengthening the vector control intervention in the area where artemisinin resistance has emerged. Now, this is, I take it from the MNV website. This is the Global Portfolio of Medicine. So we have quite a few candidates, new drugs that may become available in the next 5 to 10 years. So I circle this one because at this very moment, we are carrying out a trial on this drug, M5717, developed by Merck. And so the trial is called, Capture 2. It's a phase 2 trial. And we are going to look at this drug associated with coronary in asymptomatic malaria carriers. In other words, with individuals who are infected with malaria but are sick, and to see whether we can, with this combination, whether this combination is safe and is efficacious in clearing parasitivity. So the other thing we are doing, we are participating in a large trial, multi-center trial, that evaluates safety, efficacy, and tolerability of the triple artemisinin-based combination therapy. And you see here on the map the different center where the trial is ongoing. And basically what we are doing is evaluating artemether-lumefantrine associated with amodiaquine and mefloquine associated with piperacin. And then with the control group that received artemether-lumefantrine plus placebo and mefloquine plus placebo. And the trial is ongoing, but hopefully it's going to show that this triple therapy is safe. Most importantly, I'm sure it's going to be efficacious, but most importantly, safe and well tolerated. So with this, I'd like to finish my introduction. I'd like to thank you for your kind attention. I hope I'll be able to answer to the requests by Professor Salako. Thank you very much.
Please stand. I appreciate it so much. I'm sure that those of us who were born to become wise about this subject matter, and most of us have become wise. So we appreciate this. Another round of applause. We did it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we would now like to move to a very important segment. Before we do that, I want to mention that we have in our midst members of the Senior Library Management Committee, directors, and deputy directors. We appreciate your presence and we welcome you in your school. Thank you. If you can stand up for recognition, wherever you are, the directors and so we'll now move on to the next segment, which is to present replies to the guest speaker and other special guests. Host this occasion, please join me to invite once again the chief host of this occasion, Director General and Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Babatunde Lawal Salako, FAS.
Okay, thank you once again. It is only necessary for us to complete the effort put into appearing here after inviting our invited guests, right from the chairman to functional battle, not just giving us lecture. So we're going to start with the chair, actually. I know he's received many of these things. It's the only appreciation we can. I think that since the chair, I chair this here. Can I keep it somewhere in your reading room so that you start inviting something that you like? I'm going to respectfully ask Professor our former represent this minister and chair or vice chair.
Dr. Adeleke Amora, special guest of honor of the day, on behalf of the Nigerian Institute of Research, is recently presented to you for the outstanding contribution during the Ichair 2023 conference. On behalf of TG staff, management of the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, I present you. Thank you.
Well, I'm not asking the chairman to respond, but I've told him, give him more work to do, since this is our opportunity. So I'm going to ask you to help send this to Mr. Roberto, our keynote speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to just use the civil service language and directed. Make this presentation from the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research. I chair International Gathering of Medical Professionals. This is graciously presented to Professor Bato D'Alessandro, Rector of Medical Research, Council Union, Gambia. Keynote speaker for your outstanding contribution during the Ichair 2023 conference. Prof, thank you very much.
The next question is Professor Edward Black, who is here, but who we are trying to still support of clinical trial. And I believe it's all around to see what we have and how we can part of this team. And so we can learn from experience. So please take the black to invite Professor Black to this flag.
Once again, this is a presentation I chair, graciously presented to Professor Edward Clark, guest speaker for your outstanding contribution during the Ichair 2023 conference. Congratulations.
The last but not the least, invite Dr. Ichair to understand Ichair to see our session of plan.
This is JICA, Japan International Cooperation Against Nigeria. This is an award in recognition of your support during the Ichair 2023. And I'm sure that you know that this Ichair conference is gender sensitive. So it's not of the appearance of men alone. That's why slightly contribution and support also recognize and appreciate what you have done. Still, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
So thank you, everyone. Once again, I would like to invite to the podium the conference chair, Dr. Zaida Musa, to please give the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I will specifically want to invite the chair of the scientific committee. Without the presentations, we'll not have a conference. Please come and give the closing remark. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I say thank you. Yes, to the two letter law. Thank you. Because it's a prayer that has been seen and touched, but has not been felt and asked. So this morning, on behalf of the Ichair Organizing Committee, I want to first convey our utmost regard first to our colleague, Minister of Health, Social Welfare, who is not here today, Professor Mohammed Ali Martin, and honorable Minister of State for Health and Welfare, to allow for Trinity Alabama. We thank them for their support, but most importantly, I want to thank the chairman of the education, Senator Dr. Adeleke Olorunni Bawura, for his presence and his present seat inspired the bill schedule to took time to hear the Lord. And I think it deserves a round of applause for that. Thank you very much for the support through the years. Again, like I said, the name of my Oga, Oliver, will continue to stay. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, Professor Bato, for being here. Thank you, Dr. Edward, thank you very much. To our past DG, Professor Onidigwe, thank you. Professor Ichair, thank you very much for always being and for being in the Nigerian cause. Most importantly, to our honorable guests, our professors, our teachers, our mentors, who have played this part that will continue to work on. To our residents and our amenable attendees who have visited at this meeting of education, thank you very much. Our sponsors, who have been shaping, and I'll end by saying thank you to our Director General, to the team of staff, everyone in Lima. Thank you very much. Adupe, to Olina, Shukran, Danke, Nagudi, Software, everybody.
That was the closing remarks of the conference chairman. Or to declare the conference open formally, I want us to once again invite with a round ovation the chairman of the patient, Senator Adeleke Bawura, to declare the conference formally.
Sit down, sit down.
Well, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you can be seated. So it would appear to me that all that we had done earlier was informal. And so I have been invited to now formally declare the Ichair Conference of 2023 that I'm privileged to chair and declare Ichair Conference 2023 open. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for declaring this conference. Just a few announcements. After we're done, the Director General will be taking a group photograph with our special guests. Those on the high table first. Then after that, the teacher will take pictures with the senior management committee members as well as our sponsors. and other guests. Then after that, we'll have our student scholars take photographs with the sponsor that's going to be the DG, and then other conference participants. That will happen outside by the law beside this hall. DG, sir. So after that, we'll be having lunch with our guests at the ground floor of the admin and library building, and other participants will be having your lunch at the exhibition hall after this conference. Conference. Okay, at this council will be taking vote of thanks from active director of admin, Mr. Nelson Williams. It's my luck to thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I assume that the conference here has already given the vote of thanks. However, my people say it will not be too much for us to still say thank you. You are welcome, sir. Our own Senator Dr. Manora, he has always associated with us. I know that he has been to Nimr several times, and we will never tire of seeing you. So we thank you for once more honoring our invitation. Our keynote speaker, all the way from Gambia, you are welcome, sir. And we appreciate you for this honor you done with this institution. Professor Obama, and our own Secretary General, who has always been with us in Nimr, and I believe that he is always with us and will always be our home. Our dear Professor Nimr, there are so many of you, and you don't say a lot, and they will be always remain grateful. You are welcome once more, sir. And all the members of the high table and all Professor Nicola, we appreciate you, sir, for standing on with Nimr. And the distinguished people that were invited, especially the, I don't know how to call them, are we mentoring them or I don't know the exact. Nimr scholars, okay, so thank you very much. I can see your beautiful faces, and they will quite appreciate you for this. And all other invited guests, I may not be able to call your names, but I know that you love Nimr, that's why you are here. We appreciate you, and we pray that as you return back to your various destination, wish you safe trip and you will meet your families well. Thank you.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We shall now write down the national anthem. Thanks. National anthem. The photograph will take place with the other mention. The members of the country.
Members of the country. Thank you. All that special. Thank you. No, my name is all those yes. Thank you. Next is the student scholars and responsible student scholars still go outside to your as well as other participants. So now we have to go outside I'll take your photograph there. Please now for louder for the expectance growth to the education and then after that there will be no so also kindly note that the next session starts by 2 p.m. afternoon.
Thank you.